The night of the party, Ajoke received the beating she will never forget. Ajoke never imagined that her life would turn out this way. Ajoke was the last born and only girl out of 5 children. Her father adored her and always spoiled her with all sorts of gifts, but this would not last. When Ajoke was 7 years old, her father, who was a merchant, traveled to get some goods. Ajoke waited in anticipation of what her father would bring back for her. She was left heartbroken when her father returned with a pregnant strange woman who he claimed was his new wife. Ajoke and her mother and siblings were moved from the main house to the boys' quarters, while the new wife stayed in the main house with their father. As if this was not enough, Ajoke's father no longer had time for her and her siblings. He rarely visited them or allowed them to visit the main house, giving the excuse that they were bothering his pregnant wife. Ajoke had assumed that after her stepmother gives birth, things would get to normal. But it only got worse. Ajoke's stepmother went on to have 7 children, making things much worse than before. Her father's business could no longer sustain them all. Oftentimes, Ajoke's mother and her stepmother would clash over food rations. Sometimes, they slept hungry. Whenever their father brought goodies from his trips, their stepmother would corner everything to her and her children. Ajoke's father's love and attention were reserved only for her stepmother and her step-siblings. Ajoke grew up resentful of her father for marrying a second wife, having kids, and abandoning her and her mother with her siblings. Ajoke had vowed that she would make sure her husband never married a second wife. Ajoke grew up to be very hardworking. She often got to farm with her mother and siblings, so they could have something to eat and sell in order to get some money. One day, at the market, Ajoke met a young man named Kayode. Kayode was a very handsome man. He was the only son of a wealthy farmer. Kayode and Ajoke became friends. Kayode was intrigued by Ajoke's hardworking and humble nature, while Ajoke was drawn to his knowledge and intelligence. They shared a lot of interest. Slowly, they both fell in love. They decided to get married. Before their marriage, Ajoke made Kayode promise her he wasn't going to marry a second wife. Kayode, full of love and affection for Ajoke, swore that would never happen. They both got married in a grand style. Ajoke was proud to have married not just a man that loved her, but one who was wealthy. She also felt an ease that she would never have to worry or fight for what she would eat or wear. Not too long after they got married, Ajoke got pregnant with their first child, and she was filled with joy and happiness. Ajoke and Kayode couldn't wait to have their child in their arms. After 9 months, Ajoke gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. They had a huge celebration. Kayode showered Ajoke and their newborn with so much love. 3 years down the line, Ajoke had given birth to 2 more children, both of whom were girls. Ajoke noticed that her husband's attitude towards her and their children began to change. He became distant and was spending less time at home. Ajoke could tell something was weighing him down, but whenever she probed, he would change the topic or assure her that all was well. Even her in-laws, who had showered her with love and care, were now behaving oddly around her. Ajoke took him for the 4th time. One evening, while strolling around the compound, she heard some of her in-laws gossiping about her and how she was unable to bear male children. Ajoke soon realized that this must have been what was bothering her husband. Ajoke went ahead to confront him with this new information, and he told her not to worry or think too much about it. He said he was sure the next child would be a boy. Feeling a bit reassured, Ajoke hoped and prayed that his next child would be a boy. Then she gave birth and it was a girl. Kayode hoped and prayed that the next child would be a boy. He has been trying to put up a strong front for Ajoke, but his mother and sister were mounting pressure on him to take a new wife who would birth a son. Kayode loved his wife and daughters and wasn't ready to throw it all in for a male child. Ajoke saw the disappointment in her husband and in-laws' eyes when they saw the child was another girl. "I knew it," her sister-in-law exclaimed. Her mother-in-law stares at her in disdain before turning to her son. "Kayode." And Kayode said, "Yes, ma." Say, "Kayode, Kayode, Kayode." "How many times did I call you?" she asked. "It's your duty to continue your father's lineage as the only son of your father. I told you this girl had come to end our lineage." Kayode sighed and shook his head. "Remember Bola, my friend's daughter? She's still single, oh. I can still arrange the marriage immediately. Stop wasting time before it's too late," she continued. Kayode looked at Ajoke, the newborn, then turned to his mother, torn on which side to pick. Ajoke felt weak. She couldn't believe her worst nightmare was about to come to pass. She knew she couldn't let this happen. "Mama Kayode, please, please. What are you pleading for, eh?" "Ajoke, what is it?" Her mother-in-law interrupts her. "Mama, please, just give me one more chance, Ajoke, please." "One more chance to do what, Ajoke?" her sister-in-law asked. "Please, Mama. Kayode, my love, remember you promised me that you wouldn't marry another woman. Please, Kayode," Ajoke desperately speaks. "Oh, so you had it all planned, Abi? You came prepared to end this family, eh?" Ajoke's sister-in-law speaks angrily. No, it's not so." Ajoke tried to refute her sister-in-law's claims. "Mama, please, Mama, I've never done anything to offend you, nor have I ever asked anything of you. Please, Ma, just give me one more chance. I will try my best," Ajoke pleads tearfully while holding her newborn. Her mother-in-law stares at her thoughtfully and says, "Ajoke, I'm going to give you one more chance, but if you give birth to another girl, not only will Kayode marry another woman, but then you and your female army will be thrown out of this family. Deal?" Feeling helpless, Ajoke agrees. After the agreement, her in-laws took her home. Ajoke was slowly falling into depression and she felt upset that her husband couldn't even stand with her and her mother's situation was about to happen to her. Kayode pleaded and explained to his wife that it wasn't his intention to leave her defenseless as he had done, but he was torn between his love for her and his duty to his family. After a year, Ajoke falls pregnant for the 5th time. Her anxiety increased. One day, Ajoke's mother visited her and notices her disposition. She questions her and Ajoke reveals what has been happening. Saddened by what her daughter had told her and afraid of what might happen if she forced to give birth to a male child, she comes up with a solution. Ajoke's mother tells her to bribe the village midwife at the birthing house to switch her child with a male child should she give birth to another girl. At first, Ajoke rejects her mother's advice. But as her pregnancy advances, so does her dread, and her in-law made it a point of duty to remind Ajoke as much as they could about the deal they made. The warmth and joy Ajoke had felt in the family was slowly turning into ice cold. Ajoke couldn't believe her life had turned this sour. Out of desperation, Ajoke decides to follow her mother's advice and does as she says. She approaches the midwife, who initially rejected the plea, but was tempted by the hefty sum Ajoke promised to pay and her insistent pleas. A deal was then struck. The day for Ajoke's delivery comes and she gives birth to a girl, but the midwife quickly switches it for a boy she took from a woman besides Ajoke. Ajoke comes out to greet her in-laws holding a male child. Her mother-in-law hugged her happily in celebration. Kayode lets out a sigh of relief and also hugs his wife in joy. He lovingly took her home and the family threw a big celebration. Ajoke could not fake happiness while she felt guilty on this side for switching the child. Ajoke could only fake happiness while she felt guilty on the inside for switching the child. She often woke up at night wondering how her child was faring wherever she was. A month after giving birth, Ajoke started having strange dreams. In these dreams, the boy she had stolen at the birthing house would chase her around begging to be sent back to his original family. The first few times she had this dream, Ajoke thought nothing of it and decided to ignore it. But soon enough, it became a daily affair. Troubled, Ajoke visited her mother with the boy. She shares this strange dream with her mom and the fear that the child might be a strange being and should be returned. Ajoke's mother dismisses her concerns and claims the dreams were a result of guilt she feels. She tells her never to think of telling anyone or returning the child, or else what happened to them will happen to Ajoke, her daughter. Feeling motivated, Ajoke toughens her mind to ignore the dreams whenever she had them, which became a daily affair. This goes on for 10 months. Ajoke, taking her mother's words, refuses to let the dreams bother her. By the 11th month, the dream takes a terrible turn. This time, in her dream, the boy chases her with a cane, flogging her while asking her to return him to his mother. She wakes up screaming, drenched in sweat. Her husband wakes up as a result of her screams. When he asks what has caused her scream, she will tell him it was just a nightmare. She then excuses herself to check on the baby. Ajoke wonders for the millionth time, is it not better she had brought back her daughter that day? She wondered if having a son was worth her peace of mind. But remembering her unpleasant experience growing up, Ajoke returns to bed with the resolve not to let those dreams affect her. For a week after the dream, where she was flogged, Ajoke had a peaceful and normal dream. For the first time since she gave birth, feeling like her resolve was working for her, and her mind has finally let go of the guilt. Ajoke went about her daily affairs, feeling and looking brighter. 2 weeks to her son's first birthday, the dreams came back in full force. This time, each stroke that touched her felt so real that whenever she wakes up, she will still feel the pain from the flogging. Her husband Kayode began to worry about the recurring nightmare of his wife. Ajoke could no longer sleep at night. Whenever she did, she would get the beating of her life. During the day, she couldn't sleep due to her daily activities. Kayode was getting more and more worried with the recurring nightmare. Ajoke was scared sooner or later she would reveal everything to him. Ajoke ran to her mother once more. She dismissed her once again, telling her to get rid of her fears and the thought of returning the son back to his original mother. Her mother gave her some prep talk and tried to motivate and reassure her. Feeling better, Ajoke returned home once again, but the dreams intensified. Ajoke started waking up to see marks from the flogging she has received in her dreams the previous night. These dreams Ajoke couldn't just dismiss, the dreams of her mind playing tricks on her. So one day, while caring for the child, Ajoke spoke to the child, who didn't pay any attention and instead plays with his toys. Ajoke begs him to stop beating her in her dreams, and she begs him to understand her situation and just stay with her instead of returning to his real mother. She then went to bed that night, hoping her pleas would work and would stop. Ajoke wakes up screaming to an even worse beating that left her with physical ugly marks of the lashes she has received. Her husband wakes up due to her screaming, horrified to see the marks on her skin. Questioning her, she claimed her skin was just reacting to water she drank at the market. Ajoke became scared to sleep or go close to the child. Her husband and her in-laws began to take note of her behavior and appearance changes. Ajoke became sluggish and dull during the day. It got worse and worse with each passing day. The marks on her body soon turned to deep wounds. Ajoke was in pains, physically and mentally, and she had no idea what to do. As weeks went by, Ajoke knew she couldn't continue this, or else she might end up dead. But she was too scared of the repercussion of confessing. Kayode and his family had made preparations to host a grand birthday party celebrating their son's first birthday. The night of the party, Ajoke received the beating she will never forget. The lashing fell on top of old lash marks, reopening them afresh. It felt as though someone had poured hot pepper on her wounds. She woke up screaming and crying. Lash marks all over her body, both old and new. Some were even bleeding. Ajoke could no longer hold it in. She confessed to a horrified Kayode and her shocked in-laws, who had rushed to her room when they heard her last screams. Ajoke's mother-in-law could not believe her ears. She let out a bitter scream. Kayode's sister tried pouncing on her, but he held her back. Her in-laws were so mad at her for deceiving and subjecting them to mockery. Her sister-in-law has stated that the child be left since she had already stolen him, that there was no point returning him, but Ajoke begged that they should return this child to the original family. Kayode sent for the midwife, whom he questioned to confirm if the wife's statement was true. He then asked her who the original family of the child was and where they could find them. At daybreak, Kayode took the child alongside Ajoke and the midwife and his family members. They went to locate the child's original family to give him back. The family was shocked to hear such news. The woman couldn't believe the child she has taken home and raised for the past 1 year wasn't hers. Ajoke went on her knees to plead with the woman, asking her to forgive her of her acts. When questioned about why she would do such, she explained the desperation she felt. She saw that her past ordeal was reoccurring. Her mother-in-law, still full of anger for the deceit and disgrace Ajoke's act had brought on the family, accused Ajoke of setting her evil eyes on her family and tried to lead them into ruin. She told Ajoke never to step foot at their house and that she and her daughters were no longer a part of the family. Kayode, feeling the weight of what had happened, made the startling declaration. He stood in solidarity with his wife and children, insisting that if they left, so would he. To the surprise of everyone, including Ajoke. He then turned to his wife and apologized to her for his compliance and to the threats that she has received from his family over having male kids. His mother and sister upset that not only had Ajoke brought shame and disgrace upon them, but she had also turned her son against her. His mother told him that should he insist on staying with Ajoke and their 5 daughters, then she should look for another home and family to belong to. Everyone was shocked hearing this, but Kayode maintained his stance. He insisted that he didn't care if he had a son or not. His daughters would carry his bloodline. Saying this, Kayode took his wife and children to his mother-in-law's place where they lived for a while, but they moved into a smaller apartment. It wasn't easy adjusting to their new family lifestyle, but Kayode and Ajoke's determination to rebuild their home later gave them success. They both showered their love and attention on their daughters. After some months had passed, most of Ajoke's lash marks had faded. She could now sleep in peace. Her relationship with her husband had been mended. Kayode's mother sent words asking that they have returned back home as she couldn't bear to part with her son. Kayode refused his mother's request, stating he now wanted to live with just his wife and kids, without his family's interference. On hearing his decision, though saddened by it, his mother gave in, and supported him. Kayode and Ajoke began living on their own with their 5 daughters and on their own terms. Ajoke's relationship with her in-laws slowly got better. They finally accepted her and her daughters as part of the family, much to Kayode's delight. Thank you so much for tuning into Beje's Folk Tales. Hope you enjoyed this story. And please do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and also put on your notifications for more folktale stories.